Now to Liz Yore. Liz, this whole thing gets down to be the nationalists versus the globalists. And I think you're seeing in the political parties, people say, well, you got Republicans and you have Democrats. No. What you have is people that are populist and nationalists versus people that are globalists. And that's why there's so much confusion. People are going, well, you got all these Republicans. Well, look and see if the Republican is a populist, or they back some populist policies, or they back the Trump movement, and see if they're America First economic nationalist, or if they're just an adjunct to the party at Davos. One of the bravest individuals in the world is a Catholic archbishop from Italy that's really calling out the global elite. And he's particularly focused on the Catholic Church and their deals with China and the CCP, their deals with Davos, really their anti-Trump focus of the head of the Catholic Church. Can you walk us through? We're going to get John Frederick back here in a minute, but can you walk us through what Archbishop Vigano is telling? Is right now, he sent another letter. It's up on LifeSite News right now, and it's absolutely explosive.
It is, Steve. It's a blistering and unrelenting, almost near weekly condemnation of Pope Francis, who Vigano is now calling the Argentine. And he is calling out Francis and his cabal in the Vatican, and he is calling them the complacent servants of the globalist elite who want to establish the kingdom of Satan. So if anybody has any doubt that this is a spiritual battle, and also Vigano is saying under Francis's leadership, Christ the King has been uncrowned. But this is where it's relevant to the election fraud, because Vigano is sounding the alarm that the father of lies is at work both in the church and in this election. And he said the deep state in 2013 struck at the church with the intention of electing a pope for the deep church. And then the deep church struck at our country with the intention of electing a representative of the deep state, Joe Biden. And on closer inspection, Vigano is saying that the pandemic and the electoral fraud in the United States are similar to the lies and corruption of the Ted McCarrick case and in what is happening in the church. And, you know, I think what prompted his response is that the Pope is basically de-Christianizing Christmas, shutting down the churches. He's also been called by our mutual enemy, Klaus Schwab, as the Pope is being called as the agenda contributor. And you probably saw that the Pope had tweeted out what he called a striking and wonderful description using Joe Biden's description of building back better, that slogan. So you see the infusion of the deep church into this deep state. And this is my warning, and I think Vigano's warning to Americans and to Catholics. If we don't resist, we're going to see our church, as we've seen, in a free fall, and now we're going to see our country in a free fall. And as Vigano warns, we cannot allow the father of lies, the deep state, and the deep church to steal the crown and scepter of Christ the King. And the battle, this is a spiritual battle. We're battling the father of lies, so we need to double down, not get depressed, keep fighting, and resist with all our might, because we see that the forces have all come together, both the Davos crowd and the Vatican, both China, Davos, and the Vatican coming together to impose the global dominion on the United States. That's what's going on here. And Vigano is I call him the oracle of Christianity. And he's speaking truth to power and giving us the spiritual roadmap, actually, of what is happening day in and day out. And we're going to see him from time to time, probably weekly, if not more, really caution us as to what is happening and how we need to resist.
So this is so stunning, but I want for their audience to basically walk through who Archbishop Vigano is. He's just not some guy who's angry, yelling over his lunch pail. Walk through his bona fides, because this is one of the most prominent thinkers in the church, one of the most prominent, really, he was a senior representative here in the United States for many, many years, highly respected throughout the world, particularly highly respected at the highest levels here in the United States. Walk through who he is, so people can then see how stunning. And he started by sending these letters to President Trump privately, and then started publishing them since, I think, the spring, since April. But walk through who this guy is right now, so people that particularly are not Catholics understand what a big moment this is.
Well, he has a unique position, Steve, because he was the ambassador to the United States on behalf of the Vatican. So he not only understands church politics, but he understands American politics and understands all the players here in the United States. He understands, having lived for 6 years in Washington, D.C., he understands the deep state. And when Francis assumed the position of Pope, Vigano was removed from that position and basically cast out of the church. He is now in hiding because he has called out Pope Francis and really exposed the McCarrick case and exposed the protection by this Pope of serial predators in the Catholic Church. And as a result, he has been unrelenting in trying to clean up not only the corruption in the church, but the corruption in politics and the corruption in global politics. So he's a whistleblower, first and foremost. He is, I think, a visionary who understands the political and the spiritual world innately. But he also is going to take on the mantle of being the leader during this battle of good and evil, this apocalyptic battle that we find ourselves in. He is going to speak truth to power. He is uniquely in the position of knowing everything that's happening. He's not just a spiritual leader, but he also understands politics better than anybody. And he was on the inside and watched it all happen and watched it all play out and saw the close relationship of the predator McCarrick with Joe Biden over some 30 years, their close personal relationship.
And the CCP. Liz, what's your Twitter handle, Parler, etc.? People get more access to you.
Elizabeth Yore, Y-O-R-E, at Parler and at Twitter. And my website is Yore, Y-O-R-E, children.com.
We're going to drill down this letter a lot more in the next couple of days. Liz Yore, thank you very much for joining.